waking up in a hospital bed with a guard outside the door having a blood alcohol of like over 0.4. A lot of people die over like 0.35, 0.4. My friends like brought me home because they didn't know what to do with me. And my mom saw me and like called the ambulance and the fire department, and everyone showed up and then hauled me off. I did end up going to rehab for that whole summer, but I think when you're so overstimulated by something, everything else just feels really dull.
Welcome to Edge of My Seat, the podcast where we look at a person's darkest, most painful, the shittiest moment of their life and what they did to clean it up. Today, I'm so excited to have my dear friend from New York City, Justin McLeod, the founder of Hinge, the dating app that pretty much every single person who's single has been on and has probably found a date or found their love, found their wet marriage. It's truly one of the most prolific companies of our time. It's so fun to have a friend who's built something like that and seen his journey and how he's progressing and building it. And so I'm so excited to experience him today and hear his journey of the shitty to the beautiful cleanup.
Thanks for having me.
So I'd love to maybe just have you close your eyes and take a deep breath. And just put yourself back in a scene, in a moment where you were just in a shitty, dark moment. The darkest one you can remember. And just where were you? What were you doing? And we'll start there.
How do I choose? Yeah, what just came up for me when you said that was waking up in a hospital bed with a guard outside the door. And maybe I'm dramatizing this, but maybe I was handcuffed to the bed. I'm not quite sure. And coming to after having a blood alcohol of like over 0.4.
What's normal?
If you like over 0.08 is like drunk. A lot of people die over like 0.35, 0.4.
Wow.
And that was, waking up there alone after being, I'd woken up that morning and drank an entire bottle of vodka and and found myself apparently when the ambulance came to get me, because I was I was almost unresponsive. I then had become responsive, and he tried to like break out of the ambulance, and they had to like restrain me.
How old were you?
I was 19.
And where were you?
It was actually my freshman. Between my freshman and sophomore years of college, and I was back home in Louisville, Kentucky. I was going to school in upstate New York, and so and I'd actually
Where'd you
Colgate.
Go? Colgate.
And at Colgate, I'd gotten in so much trouble that because I got written up like over and over again by campus safety for like setting off the smoke alarm, smoking pot, or throwing a snowball through my RA's window because I got mad because they'd written me up earlier that night for drinking, and I was like a wild.
And what do you think made you so wild and like wanting to just like bat out a cage and just do everything in college? And I guess everyone kind of, but you feel like
no, I was pretty extreme. I mean, even for like a party school, I was like the one kid that mandatorily had to go to rehab over the summer in order to come back from my sophomore year. And
what was that like?
Rehab?
Yeah.
I hadn't gotten there yet because obviously. No, I took it to a pretty extreme place. I don't know. I just was like, I started pushing boundaries in high school, and then I feel like when I got to college, there were like no there were no guardrails anymore.
And what was
And
going on, you think, inside, just like want to do all that? Was there something, or was it just more like curiosity of what would happen?
it was, by that point, I think it purely was like, it was just like the vicious cycle of addiction. And it was, the more I drank and the more trouble I got into, and then the less like life seemed interesting to me anymore. And the more that I drank, like the more I shrunk away from relationships, the more I shrunk away from activities and academics and all that stuff. Like a after school ad.
Right.
But then if I don't have those things going for me, then like the only kind of fun thing to do is like smoke a little pod, drink.
Yeah.
And it just got way out of
Were you a
hand.
good student still?
Yeah, I still had like a 3.7 GPA and was taking like 400 level math classes in my freshman year. But
And
because I
friends.
like could test well.
Yeah.
But occasionally, like I missed a math midterm once because I was on a hot streak at the casino playing blackjack.
What's your maximum?
And it was,
What's the most money made at the casino?
I made close to like $10,000 that night.
What?
Yeah, I used to go and count cards. This was, I was like a freshman in college. So
Right.
this was real.
Wow. Wow. You learn how to count cards?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was a little casino outside, like on a reservation in
hated
New York
you.
State. Yeah. They actually shut down the table that night and kicked us out. Yeah, but then I did not make it back for the math.
Right. I mean, I feel like this is good math.
Yeah,
Reading
exactly.
card
It was like,
cards.
right.
Wow. So then what?
Yeah. So anyway, so I woke up in this situation. I was released. No one ever pressed charges, even though I was like underage.
And what did your
drinking
parents say?
I think they were. My mom is actually the one who like called. So my friends like brought me home because they didn't know what to do with me, and my mom saw me and like called the ambulance and the fire department, and everyone showed up and then hauled me off. And I think at that point I realized like maybe I have a problem.
Yeah.
I didn't, because as you said, I had good grades,
Right.
and I was like, well, what, like leave me alone. Like
Right.
I remember my friends tried to have an intervention on me freshman year, and I was like, I've got better grades than all of you, so maybe you should like get on my program.
Were you like a smart ass and just
Total
Yeah.
cocky, smart ass, like
answers for everything?
yeah.
Yeah.
And
We're all that way, I feel like,
I was just kind of at a loss because I didn't know. I genuinely remember thinking to myself, like, I don't really know what the point of life is if it's not to like party and drink and like do. Like, it was just my whole life revolved around that, and I like literally didn't know what to do with myself if I wasn't doing that, and so I felt very stuck because it was like pretty clear that I couldn't keep doing this.
Right.
I was literally gonna die, and yet like, what's the point of doing other things?
Right.
And maybe I don't know if you're an addict, like that doesn't make any, you're not an addict, you haven't had experience, that doesn't make any sense. But I think when you're so overstimulated by something, everything else just feels really dull. I mean, I see the same thing today. It's why I'm such an advocate in thinking about digital addiction, things like that, because I think that we spend so much time on our phones, getting like overstimulated that the other things seem dull, and then we go back to our phones. Like it's when you see friends out to dinner and everyone's, especially younger
right.
kids, and
Everyone's just on their
literally
phone.
everyone's just on their
Like
on their
sitting
phones.
next to each
Because it's
other.
like stimulating, it's super stimulating.
Right.
And then like the more time you do that, the less time you spend interacting with each other and in building and enriching relationships and developing conversation skills. And the more those atrophy, the more you gravitate back to your phone.
Right.
So it's almost like that. And it's like, it was as easy to put down drinking as like it would be to tell someone to like, yeah, just don't like look at your phone at all. People don't even know what to do themselves. They just go to a bathroom line. They like,
Right.
you know,
right.
for God's sake, I might just sit here and breathe for a second, or like say hi to someone next to me.
Right.
And, so it was like that, but to a very extreme level, obviously. And it just felt like I had to re-platform my life. Like I had to come up with a whole new way of living without having any clue how to do that.
And what was it? What was like what became the new stimulation for you after you're like, okay, I can do that?
Well, for a while I was kind of in and out of, because I would try. I mean, so then I did end up going to rehab for that whole summer. And
what did you do there?
Talked about my feelings, did art therapy, all of the, learned how to like classes about the effects of drug and alcohol on you. Is at some rehab center in Louisville, Kentucky, because the school said that you have to get like a consultation with someone and follow through on whatever the recommendations are. And every person I went to go see, they're like, yeah, you're probably an alcoholic. You need to go to rehab. And I'm like, well, I'm going to get a second opinion, like third opinion, fourth opinion. And in between like the third and the fourth opinion, the incident happened where I ended up in the hospital. My parents were like, you're just going to go to rehab now. And so I did. And then even coming out,
was like a month or 2 months or?
It was like 2 months of,
in and out.
Yeah, it was they call it like an outpatient rehab. So I wasn't like sleeping there. I was just there all day, every day. And
what kind of other people were there?
Everything. Other kids my age, much older people. Like it was a whole mix of different people.
Fascinating.
And
were you like, after that, you're like, I don't want to do this anymore? Or were you kind of like, it's fine, I come back here?
I still didn't really think I'd like put that one incident as like an aberration, and I'd kind of put it out of my mind.
I'm not really an addict.
I'm not really an addict. And, and then I went back to school and I celebrated my first night by going out drinking, campus safety, like I ended up in a incident where they're like chasing me through the woods at one point. I think I got away because I never got it written up. The next night I passed out in the stairwell, and an RA found me, and so did Kate, who became my girlfriend and then now wife. And
that's how you met?
That's how we met. She found me passed out in a stairwell. Her first day of her freshman year is my first day of my second day of my sophomore year.
And she nursed you back to health?
No. She actually she'd
take you in her arms and be like,
no. She just was like shocked. I'd never seen a drunk person before. And it's a longer story, but my roommate had like met her on the quad and was like bringing her up to the room to like hang out. And they came across me, and my roommate like picks me up and throws me over her shoulder. And that's when the RA came, and she got written up, and she'd like never had a drink, never kissed a boy. Like
Kate?
Yeah.
Wow.
When she got to college, she went to an all girls Catholic school, very different. Very different. I was teaching kids how to like snort Adderall on my first day of college. Very different backgrounds. And so anyway, but at that point I'm like, gosh, maybe I really should start, attending 12-step meetings and doing all that. Right. But it was kind of in and out for a while. And then I didn't end up getting sober until the day I graduated college.
So what were some of the, wow. Okay. So what were some of the processes, I mean, besides rehab, that you went through for yourself, like internally, and like what kind of sort of support did you seek out besides rehab? Or like what was in rehab that you were like, wow, that really supported me. Like I got to go back to that over and over again. Like when you're feeling the urge to like do some, pick up a vice again or whatever, like what was your process to like get out of that loop?
Yeah. And in some sense, it was like the very beginning of a 1,000-step process. Honestly, there were so many things. Like starting with sobriety was like the beginning of an entire journey for me that completely transformed my life and turned me into the person I am today.
Right.
And it started with one was the art of journaling, which is something that I've been doing now for 20 years on a daily basis. And
just getting stuff out.
Yeah, and also realizing at the time one day I would be writing like, I'm never going to drink again, blah, 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 and then the next day I would go out drinking that night and I would look back and be like, gosh, like there's this piece of me that really doesn't want to do this anymore.
Right.
And I like keep going. It was the first time that I really was like, gosh, I might be out of control. But having that self-reflection process, I can tell because I would always,
say it, but then
Yeah, because I guess I always thought like a true alcoholic would be someone who is like, I don't want to drink, but I'm just doing it anyway.
yeah.
But for me, I would like wake up hungover and be like, I'm never drinking again. But then by noon, I'd feel better, and then my friends are going out later, and I'm like, I was overreacting, you know?
Right.
But then I started to realize like, wow, there's actually I felt like this huge dissonance in me, where like there's this piece of me that really wants to get out of this, and there's this piece of me that keeps rationalizing it.
Right.
And
also it's like your
but
friends
this
are
deeper part of me is the real part of me that like wants to get out of here.
Yeah.
And how do I start honoring that piece of me? So that was
what'd you
like
do?
one.
so
Then
the journaling.
yeah, and so the day I graduated college, I remember thinking to myself like, I feel like the steering wheel to my life is broken. I feel like I keep trying to turn this way, but I like just keep going this other direction. And I remember thinking to myself like, I don't, as we were talking about before earlier, I don't know what the point of living is if it's not to party and drink, but like I guess I have to go find out.
Right.
And I had a job. I moved to Washington D.C.
What'd you do?
I was working in management consulting stuff.
Yeah.
Doing biodefense and defense logistics, like a completely different world than
Right.
the one I'm in now. And I found a mentor there that totally transformed my life, introduced me to spirituality.
Cool. Which firm? McKinsey or one of the...
Oh, sorry, not at work.
Okay. While you were in DC.
Yeah, while I was in DC.
Okay.
And I did do 12-step stuff. I found a mentor. And
What's cool about 12 steps?
what's cool?
Yeah, from your perspective.
It's
Process.
what's that?
It's like a good it's like there's a step, so that's why you feel like you're making progress. Like what's...
I think there's a lot of magic. One is just like a community of people that are going through what you're going through. It's rewiring habits. It's teaching you. We were talking earlier about like what makes someone fulfilled, and it is. And I'm going to get back to like why I was drinking before. It gives people an opportunity for service to show up and be useful, whether it's just like making coffee or greeting someone at the door. Did
you feel that unlock there?
It like builds.
Did you feel the unlock when you're in service? You're like, oh, this feels good to like serve. Did that feel good to you?
Yeah, and you feel like you have a responsibility. You feel like you're letting people down if you don't like show up and do the thing. And I think it's ultimately it's that I felt like completely detached from good relationships and feeling of use in the world, like the meaningful work, meaningful relationships, like those. I think addiction is largely a response to, as is a lot of like anxiety and depression and things like that. And addiction is one way to like medicate anxiety and depression, is because we're cut off from meaningful relationships and feeling like we have purpose. And I think I felt I was a smart kid, and I felt very understimulated. I grew up in, again, like great place, but like they're just like what I didn't feel like met by the there wasn't anything for me to do. And I also just didn't grow up with good relational skills or how to really build friendships. And I grew up as an only child in like the suburbs of Louisville, and I just was like lonely.
So how did you cultivate friendship? So after this, you're like, okay, like I realize I have a thing. In the journaling, I realize that like this thing keeps coming up that I just want to stop. I'm going to move the steering wheel. Then you're like, went to DC. You found the 12 steps, and then you met a mentor.
Yeah.
How'd you meet the mentor?
And had a job through the 12-step stuff.
Okay.
And then had a job that I could feel like I'm like, okay, I'm starting to feel stimulated. I'm getting to like travel. I'm getting to like solve hard problems.
But wait, tell me about the mentor. Like, what was good about
much older gentleman named Larry. He's passed away now.
Oh.
And he just took me under his wing and like was a father figure to me and really taught me so much. Like one thing is he gave me this book that totally changed my life.
What book?
It's called Awareness by this guy Anthony DeMello, who's a Indian Jesuit who writes about, but who's like a Buddhist in disguise. And that book, after I read that book, I just completely transformed my view of life. It gave me some sense of spirituality. I think up until that point, if I had a problem, it was like because of you. And all of a sudden, if I had a problem, it was like, oh, it's my thinking. It's the way I approach life. And
as you're becoming aware of
it started my whole journey of like self-work and self-improvement and realizing that if I have a problem, it's my problem.
Right.
And so it's like on me to solve it. And that just, sent me on a journey of like going off and doing 10-day meditation retreats in Thailand to going through hundreds of hours of yoga teacher training to,
I didn't know you did that. Cool.
And, a lot, I mean, I like was sober. I was like celibate for a number of years. I just was like draining all of the overstimulation out of my life.
Yeah.
Sugar, like everything. I was just getting myself down to the bare bones of like, how do I just get filled up by my breath, by like relationships with other people, and by actually, one of the things that happens when you sober up is you realize your life is really fucking boring. Like you think it's this like glamorous, crazy, like wild, dramatic existence, and then you realize like it's not. You were just drunk and high. And, like actually, it's not that fun at all.
Unless you make it so.
Yeah. And then I was like, well, how do I make it so? I can't just get drunk with boring people. I have to go find interesting people. I can't just like have a job that doesn't really resonate with me. I actually have to go build something that is that's gonna fulfill me.
So when did you decide to start Hinge or start a business or start to create?
So then I went to business school after working consulting for 3 years. And
where'd you go?
Harvard.
Oh, you went to Harvard.
And lucked out. I mean, I applied to like my whole life. I applied to 6 colleges. I got into 1, barely probably. I applied to 4 business schools. I got into 1.
No way.
Yeah.
I wonder what, because like consulting, like what, I'm curious what.
Oh yeah, consulting. Applied to like so many jobs coming out of college.
Right.
Got 1. Like the universe has never given me a choice.
I'm curious why you think HBS chose you.
Admissions mistake. I'm not sure. I knew I really wanted to go there, so I know I put much more
effort,
like willpower into like making that one happen. And because I just, when I went and visited, I was like, God, I belong here. Like I really want to be here, and I didn't feel that way about the other places. And
did it serve you? Was it good experience?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was hard because I was newly sober, and it's like a big social party environment. Because first when I got sober, I just left college. Like literally the day I walked across the stage at graduation in college, I got sober. And so I'd been in DC, but like mostly working, like, but now I was like back in like
college world,
college-y type feel, and trying to be sober in a world where a lot of everyone's like partying, going off on weekends, and so that was hard.
You still stayed sober? Good.
But that was hard.
Was it 12-step in Boston? I'm sure. Yeah.
And so
do you still find yourself being able to like repattern yourself, like I can have fun and be sober?
Totally. Now I totally feel like that.
Yeah. But I'm saying
back then. No, I think then I was in a victim mode of like, this sucks, but I have to just like grin and bear it. Yeah.
So you're kind of like the sober guy, like drove people home.
Yeah, basically. It was fascinating. I learned so much, and I was around incredible peers who were doing like really interesting things in the world, and it was incredible.
Fascinating. Okay, so then at what point after that did you start Hinge? Right after HBS, or was it you came up with it at there?
Right after. Yeah.
Okay.
I
14 years, I guess. Yeah, that tracks.
I was working on a business plan competition, and I got together with another classmate of mine, Frances, who became the Facebook whistleblower. I mean, she's like the one that's out there speaking about
Whoa.
Facebook and released all the Instagram files and all that stuff.
Whoa.
And that's before she was all of that. So she and I did this. It was both a paper for our class and a business plan competition. We didn't get past the first round of the business plan competition, and we got like a C on the paper. And that was like, I have this idea for this new dating company. And
Isn't that crazy? It had so many stops and starts and so many like, and then it's the one that made it all the way through. It's so cool.
So many people told me like, this is a horrible idea. This is never going to work.
Because OkCupid was a thing? Like,
yeah, Match and OkCupid, they own the market and you'll never be able to beat them. And so so we started this, and I knew I wanted to work on something I had this kind of entrepreneurial bug in me. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. And I'd actually had a job accepted at, once again, I applied to all the consulting firms and I only got one, McKinsey. And so I had a job at McKinsey.
Oh, good.
And we were playing with like different business ideas. And I remember like everything felt like
And you're still sober.
Yeah, still sober.
Okay.
But
at that point you figured out how to have fun.
Starting to.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. And
what did you do for fun sober?
I don't know.
Dancing.
At that time, no, I don't think I'd really just rediscovered fun yet.
Huh.
I rediscovered like purpose. I at least rediscovered like like building and creating and like having that as what filled me up.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say I knew how to like suck the marrow out of life yet.
Okay, so I know from a timing perspective, I wanted to get from you the like people who are watching this or listening to just you and just, knowing like Justin McLeod, founder of Hinge, he's built this huge company. I've met my person on there. Like he must have it all together, but it's like just knowing that you come from sort of this like wonderful roller coaster of human beingness.
Yeah.
What could you like, like for someone who's, hit rock bottom or had some crazy shit go down for them, are there like, of course, like there's your path, journaling, mentorship, community, 12-step, like, is there like just distilling, just like a feeling state? Like, what is it that you can impart on someone who's just like going through something and wants to come out of it? Like, what can you say and offer?
Someone got me one of the most amazingly thoughtful gifts recently. And it was one of those, because I feel like it represents me and the question you're answering so well. It was one of those, what's that Japanese art of?
Kintsugi.
Yeah. And we're like broken pottery and you put it back together with gold and
becomes more valuable.
And I actually tried to do it once on my own. And it turns out the bonding agent is the exact same thing that is in poison ivy.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's like the active chemical in poison ivy. And it was like, make sure you wear gloves and wash your hands. And I'm always one of those people, it's like, whatever. So I do the whole thing. And I was actually trying to repair one of Kate's bracelets for her birthday that she broke that she loved. It was like this ceramic bracelet. And I try to put it all together, and then I go upstairs and I like take a shower and like literally.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, we won't go down this like especially like.
Oh no.
Yeah. Intense breakout. And Kate was like, "What happened to you?" And I'm like, "I can't." I was like, "I'll tell you once. I'll tell you soon."
Day after tomorrow.
Yeah. So anyway, point being that like, I think in some sense, a lot of us view the hard times or the broken times as like our weaknesses.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, once you bond it back together with the gold, like that actually becomes a stronger joy. Like, we're gonna break again. It's not gonna break along that. It will break along something else, and like another line, and
create
because
more
it's
gold.
stronger, right? And like that, when we have that mentality and mindset towards the like hard things, the things that broke us, if we like if we go through the painful, sometimes very painful process of putting ourselves back together.
That's such a metaphor.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Oh
Totally.
Okay.
And then painting it with the gold, it's like those become like those are the strong
Points.
that like make you not only more resilient from a like being a builder and a creator and someone in the world, but also the point that like allows you to connect in with somebody. Like it's the broken parts of you that like let the light through and like allow you to really, because I was just before, like the first hard thing that really happened to me was the drug and alcohol addiction. Since then, many things, but and before that, I was just this like cocky prick. I mean, I was just like, I would have been the worst human. And going through that and all the downs and ups and gives me such empathy for other people and allows me to like relate with people. And it's such gold. It really is gold. And so if we can just have that perspective towards not letting the downs in our lives be the excuse or the like, this is, therefore I can't X, Y, Z, but instead of like, wow, what an opportunity I get to use to like learn and grow and get stronger.
Yeah. And the healing
because
process,
you just, now I almost look at, we were talking about before, failure, like quote unquote failure in the car, but like the more you fail, the less you like fear it.
Right.
The more you learn, like you always get on the other side of it, and it becomes like all of that just becomes, you just get stronger and stronger and stronger as a result. And I'm so grateful for
and it's like,
the whole thing. Like I used to like I people used to tell me like one day you'll be grateful for like, and I'm like grateful for like having to stop drinking when I'm 19 years old. And like this sucks. Like all my friends are out partying, and like today I'm like, wow, like
and the healing,
thank the universe for like drug addiction and alcoholism, because it was like the greatest gift that I ever received.
And it's like the healing sometimes could feel like the poison ivy, the process of it.
It's uncomfortable. It's itchy. You want to get out of your body. Yeah, totally. And you just have to just like
get through
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it goes away and it heals.
And then the healing on the other side of it is the gold.
Yeah.
And is like that precious empathetic expansion of your emotional capacity.
Yeah.
How cool is that? Well, Justin McLeod, founder of Hinge, dear friend. So happy that you're in Austin, Texas, and then hopefully you'll come back when it's warmer.
Great to see you.
So great to see you.
Thanks for the good talk.
Good work. Thank you so much for watching Edge of My Seat. I'm so excited for all the lessons and learnings that came from Justin McLeod, the founder of Hinge. His story was so, so special to hear his darkest, most painful, shittiest moment of his life and what he did both internally and externally to clean it up. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to continue to listen to them, all I ask that you support TUSHY. Go to hellotushy.com. It's the modern bidet that washes your butt clean after you poop. I'm Miki. I'm the founder and chief creative officer of TUSHY, and I'm so, so excited for you to tune in to the next episode. Thanks for watching. See you next time.